Hey, what's up, Funkheads? There has been a lot of great DC pops, and the very first pop was a DC pop. It was Batman, and I think he is the most reproduced pop, definitely the most repaints. So I thought it was about time to make a top 10 list of what I consider to be the best DC pops that Funko has ever made. I'm not including any pop rides, or deluxe pops, or 6-inch pops. These are just the best regular-sized DC pops. Of course, everybody has a different opinion, and you may not agree completely with this list, or at all even. So I more than welcome you to put your own list in the comments below, because this is just my opinion. Before I get into the top 10, I'm going to talk about some honorable mentions. Overall, I really like the Teen Titans Go pops. They're all very colorful and pretty accurate to the characters. I think the designs translated really well over into pop form. But I especially like Trigon. Love the 4 eyes, love the contrast between the white hair, the yellow, and the red. He's huge, he's heavy. Overall, it's a great pop, and so is Starfire as the Flash. She also has great contrasting colors with the green, the yellow, and the red. She's sculpted well, and she's also very solid, very heavy. When I think of vinyl figures, I think of just solid pieces of plastic, and I'm pretty sure her head is hollow, but that hair is definitely one solid piece, and I really like that. I don't like when the pops feel really cheap. This Wonder Woman with this black cloak, I think is my favorite Wonder Woman from the movies. I really like all the great detail in her uniform, her hair peeking out of the hood, the fact that she's holding her sword. I really like everything about this pop, but for some reason, Wonder Woman just looks really cool wearing this hood. And I do like the contrast of her colorful uniform with that black cloak. It's just another great pop. I also think that the Riddler chase is really well done. It's my favorite version of the Riddler. It's just not eye-catching enough to make the top 10 in my opinion. And to round off the honorable mentions, I'm going to include Bizarro. This is an older pop. That's why it still has that old school pop body with them just making fists to the side. But there is a little bit more sculpting in his arms than usual. I really like the sign around his neck. And his face sculpt looks really good. Bizarro is definitely one of the weirdest characters in the DC universe, but I think his pop turned out really good. Alright, now on to the best of the best. The New 52 Reverse Flash is definitely one of the most eye-catching DC pops, maybe one of the most eye-catching pops in general. If you put this guy next to almost any other pop, your eye is definitely going to gravitate towards him. I'm particularly fond of red and black colored things. I really like that combination of colors. But with that pop of yellow in there, it really takes this paint job to the next level. And this guy is actually a repaint, but this is exactly how repaints should be. They should be so different that you don't even realize it's a repaint at first. And this paint job is so striking that it makes the whole pop look more detailed than it is. Because if you look at the actual sculpt of it, it's pretty simple. I mean, look at his body. It's pretty much a do-it-yourself pops with a couple of wings on his boots. But it's the paint job that makes this guy so great looking. Funko really nailed it with this Antiope pop from the Wonder Woman movie. Her armor is all brown with some spots of gray and black, so it was really important for them to think of a way to make this pop really look dynamic, because if they would have just put her in a regular pop pose, it might seem a little boring. So they chose this leaping pose with her shooting the 3 arrows out of her bow, and her hair off to the side to convey that motion of her jumping. It looks really good, it's super detailed, and the paint was really well done on this one. Definitely one of my favorite DC pops. At number 8 I have Judge Dredd, and this is another older pop. It's from 2013, so he still has a typical pop pose, but he definitely has way more detail than a lot of the pops of the time had. I mean, look at the little emblem on his belt buckle, his badges, all the detail on his boots and gloves, a very eye-catching helmet, and his shoulder pads are really detailed, and they're done in a more kind of coppery metallic paint. I think the box art on this guy looks really good, and extra points for it being the comic book version. This is a really, really great pop. Hawkman is another older pop. It's from 2011. And the reason I'm putting it on this list is because, of course, for its time, he really stood out from the other pops because of those big wings and the sculpt on his head and the colors, and the fact that he's also holding a weapon. But fast forward 7 years, and I think this guy still stands out amongst other pops. Of course, if they would make him nowadays, they'd probably put a lot more definition in the body. I mean, he does look very plain around his chest and arms. There's really no muscle definition. but it really goes with the pop style. Because the sculpting on this guy isn't super detailed almost anywhere. It's just that this character looks cool as a pop. The Bank Robber Joker is one of my favorite pops, not just DC pops, but one of my favorite pops in general. I think it was wise of Funko to sculpt in a mouth for him, even though a lot of pops don't have mouths, because it makes that clown mask look very accurate. It looks just like the one from the movie. And at the time, Funko wasn't making like 15 pops from one movie like they do now. We'd be lucky to get 2, maybe 3, rarely 4 pops from one movie. And I'm glad they decided to go with this guy because, I don't know, I think it's one of the best introductions to any villain in any movie. Really, really love that bank robber scene. And they got this guy just perfect, right down to the shoes, the gloves, the gun with the extended clip, his green hair hanging out the back. But what really makes this pop cool is the striking colors and paint job on that mask and how accurate it is. This really is just an awesome collectible that I think even non-pop collectors would like to have. I'm not a big Plastic Man fan. In fact, I've never even read a Plastic Man comic. But I'm not just picking characters that I like. I think this guy is really well done. I love the fact that he just actually does look like bendy plastic. And how they made his hands big. The hair sculpt is cool. His feet look plasticky. I mean, he looks like you can pick him up and start stretching him like one of those Stretch Armstrong toys. Maybe I'm dating myself with those. A lot of my younger subscribers probably don't know what Stretch Armstrong is. But yeah, this guy actually looks like a stretchy toy to me, which is really appropriate, really well done by the sculptor, and he's definitely eye-catching. I've talked a lot about the Joker with kisses on my channel before. He's another one of my favorite pops in my collection. I think Funko got everything right with this figure. Giving him a mouth was a good choice. The kisses on them look great. The hair sculpt is perfect, and so is even like the color of green that they chose. The way they made his eyebrows kind of tilt up like he's a little bit shy and embarrassed about being kissed like that. And all the details in his body are perfectly done. The little patch on his leg, the tiny little buttons on his pants, the tiny Joker on his hat, the flower, the shoelaces, all really well done. He's just a perfect pop in my opinion. The Margot Robbie Harley Quinn pop is a great example of a common pop that's better than all the exclusives. I really like when Funko makes the common pop the best one, and the common Margot Robbie Harley Quinn really is the best Harley Quinn in my opinion. I guess that depends if you like the design from the movie. I really like it. I think it's a great reimagining of the Harley Quinn character, because it would look silly for her to actually be wearing a Harley Quinn outfit like she does in the comic books. I don't think that translates well over into movie form. So I think this design was really good, and Funko did a good job translating all those tiny little details into pop form. I think this is a must-have for any Harley Quinn fan. I'm not a big fan of Superman. I think he's too powerful. I think he's goofy. I don't really like his villains, and I don't really like Superman movies. But I have to admit, this Clark Kent ripping off his suit to reveal the Superman uniform underneath looks really great. It's a perfect pop. It's one of the most iconic things about Superman. Him ripping off his suit to have his actual Superman suit underneath. Even from a non-Superman fan, I know that. Just through cultural osmosis. I like the way they sculpted the tie to convey motion. This is just another pop that Funko got perfect. Alright, and what could be number one? Of course, the Killing Joke Joker. Yes, that's 3 Jokers on this list, but honestly, I think Funko does a really good job with the Jokers. Again, they gave him a mouth, and a really creepy one at that. The shape of his eyebrows are perfect. I love that big purple hat on his head, but the details in the body is what really makes this pop. It's super accurate to the comic book. All the colors in it make him really stand out. He's another one that if you place him with 10 other pops, your eye just goes right to him. I really love the clear glass they gave him with a wash of like orange paint to make it look like it's actually full of liquid. It's a really simple technique, but it really works. The palm tree decals on his shirt were also really well done. I could see how they could really easily screw that up, but they look seamless. One of the things I really like about Funko is when they make extremely dark characters into pops. And this version of the Joker is about as dark as it gets. And again, I think he is the type of collectible that even non-pop fans would want to have if they're fans of that graphic novel, The Killing Joke. He's just really well done. It's funny to have a cute character of such an evil, dark character. He's definitely one of my favorite pops, and I think he is the best DC pop that Funko has ever made. Alright guys, that was the top 10 best DC Funko Pops. This was a very hard list to put together. There's been a lot of DC Pops. It's how Funko Pops started. And yeah, I didn't include the original Batman, even though he's so iconic and important to the history of Funko Pops. I just don't think he's that detailed, even though I really do love the original Batman. I have a ton of the repaints. And we'll probably buy more of him in the future if they do cool repaints on him. But yeah, I just didn't think he was detailed or unique enough to put on this list. Let me know in the comments below whether you agree or disagree, what your top 10 list, what your least favorite DC Pops are, or anything else you'd like to say. Thanks for watching and take it easy.
Ha 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 ha!